Talofa lava, I'm Monty Betham. This is Once a Warrior. My next guest, he debuted for the club in 1995. The very next year, he was a top try scorer for the Warriors. And over the course of 2 years, he played 34 times for the club. He is the man, the myth, the legend that is Sir John Kirwan, mate. Thanks for joining me, brother.
Good, mate. How are you?
Very, very good. Now, we know you live in Tamaki Makaurau, but the big thing is you've been amongst so many things. What's the latest thing that's been keeping you busy?
Mainly mental health. I have a mental health company called Groove, which used to be Mentamere. We've just had a rebrand, and so that's a suite of digital tools to look after mental wellbeing in the workplace. And then I also have a foundation, JK Foundation, and we've created a curriculum-based primary school mental health education curriculum. So doing that, and then I've been trying to create a family business because when you're married to Italians, they like family business. So I also have a wine business that my daughter runs, and my little son is a little bit involved in.
Yeah,
and the middle son is sort of deciding. He said, Dad, I want to be marketing manager on 180 grand a year and just work Thursdays. Yeah, I said, oh yeah, I'll take that job too.
It sounds good, mate. Now we love what you're doing. You're doing a wonderful job with mental health, and you put smiles on people's face. That's your plan. We also need a smile on our face now as Warriors fans, because I tell you what, it's been a bit hard watching the last game. So let's take a look at this.
Will he score in front of John Kirwan? He will! His first in Winfield Cup football. Brilliantly taken by Kirwan. Fine touch. The big man was three in front of him. He does them all. Kirwan. Kirwan. John Kirwan. Kirwan away from one. John Kirwan for the corner. What a try. They're going to run it. Almost intercepted. John Kirwan. Kirwan on Wilson. Kirwan. Kirwan looming up on the outside. Kirwan on Freeman. Kirwan's got a double. Smiles all round.
So JK, when we look at that and we turn back the clock and you see yourself in that Warriors jumper, man, what comes to mind?
The first thing I look at when I look at that footage was how hard it was changing sides. So I went to the Warriors, and I'd been a right winger all my life, but Chops was on the right.
Sean Hoppy, that is.
Sean Hops was on the right, and he was an amazing footballer. And so, I was last man on the bus type of thing. So I had to transform to a left winger, and that's probably easier nowadays because the kids are multi-skilled, But back then it was, changing of the hand. One thing I lived off was my sort of outside swerve. But yeah, I had to change everything
on the other side.
Yes. So, and it was I just had a great time, mate. Like, it was honestly the two best years of my life. I went from being an amateur, and this is something that people don't realise, never got paid to be an All Black. And I turned up at the Warriors, and when they first asked me, I said no. I don't know if you've heard this story, but and back then they offered me a lot of money. It's 250 grand, right?
Yeah.
You got to realise guys like Stacey Jones and Haitara Senior getting 15 grand a year back then, And I said no, right? Because I thought, I don't know, I'm not going to be good at it. And, my dad was leaguey, and, one of his best mates, the Mad Butcher, is a great mate of mine. And I'd grown up at Carlisle Park, so I loved the game. But I just thought, oh, nah, But I used to go to sleep every night with, what if? What if I was good at it? What if I could, And I woke up one day and said to my wife, I don't want what if in my life. I'd rather fail than have what if. And so I rang Robbo back. You remember Robbo?
Yes,
and,
Ian Robinson.
And he said, it's now 150 grand, JK. So it's a 100 grand decision, bro.
Expensive.
Yeah, expensive decision. But, I always think that money's in equals. And, it's about making the right decisions, and then, you don't worry too much about the money. So, and looking at those videos, I just had a ball, mate. It was great fun.
Now, there's going to be a lot of people that watch that video and just seeing you on the show Once a Warrior and go, what, he was a warrior? Do you look back and go, actually I was, because sometimes when I look back in my career, it's like it was yesterday, or it was like it never happened?
Like it never happened, yeah. Like I said, I move on a wee bit, but I'm incredibly proud of those 2 years. I loved it. We had a really good team. We should have made the top 8. And looking back at that stuff now, I think that hasn't helped our legacy. So it was a really sad time because we were in the top 8, and then a New Zealand journalist came out and found that we had used one too many interchange, and so she reported us to the NRL.
That's the West game, the West Magpies game, and you're winning by 30 points, and then they bring Joe Vangana off the bench to play with, I think, 3 or 4 minutes to go.
And we lost our points, so we didn't make the top 8 in the first year. And I think, well, I don't know if it was a dumb coaching, but it was just one of those things that I think the legacy would have been a lot different if we had made the top 8 the first year, because I reckon we were good enough to get through that first round. And you know, I was 29, 30 at the time, and it was like being a kid again. You know, I was just a new boy. You know, I had some amazing athletes around me, Dean Bell. You know, when you look at that whole team, it was amazing. You know, Sean Hoppe, Te Aropatu, you know, Phil Blake, Greg Alexander, you know, Dennis Betts, you know, and you know, Hytro and Stacey was coming into his game. It was just a, you know, just to name a few.
Were there people that try to talk you out of it? I mean, because, you know, you're a very high-profile World Cup winning All Black, and, you know, that game of rugby league is frowned upon from a lot of people from the other code, or from Union. So where were you getting your advice from? And was it the Warriors first that instigated that JK come and play league, man? Yeah.
Look, and I always thought that they thought it was a good marketing tool. So I was really aware that I don't think they were buying the best league player in the world. So I was very open and honest with myself about that. Look, I think everyone gives you advice, right? Everyone. So around then it was like I had people following me with a camera when I was going on holiday. It was one of those moments where it was the news story and all that sort of stuff. So it gets really, really noisy, right? And so I went back to what my dad always taught me. Do not let your brain get in the way of what your heart is saying. Let your brain take all the information, but then let your heart or your stomach make the decision. And really it was lying alone at night, not getting to sleep. And it was really just coming back to what if?
When was the earliest moment you thought, actually, this is rugby league? Oh, wow, this is rugby league.
Well, the first month. So I was a relatively fit man. And then Edgar Curtis, who was the fitness trainer from America, I could not walk for 3 weeks. I had just had a new baby, and I had I remember my first sort of second day of training, it was hard for me to turn the car, and it had power steering. I got home and I couldn't pick up my little baby. I just lay on the floor. And I realised then that, you know, this is going to be really, really tough, and I'm going to have to dedicate and sacrifice my whole life just to get up to speed physically. You know, and then my training partner, Filippo Blake, I call him, Filippo, and mate, he was just this athlete,
wasn't he?
You know, and we'd pair up, and I'm so pleased he did, because he'd make me laugh, you know, he gave me encouragement to get me through. But at the end of training, like back then, we're doing like 5 sets to finish training, 5 sets of pull-ups and dips, right? And I get there and I'm doing 4 pull-ups and 10 dips, you know, and he said to me, I'll just double everything you do, right? And so the first day, you know, he did 8, but by the end I'm doing 25, 30, and he's doing 60 and 90 dips, you know, just like an incredibly good athlete. So I realised then, and back then, and I think rugby and league have come together from a fitness point of view. So rugby was aerobic, right? Over Christmas we'd go for a run, you know, and you'd run over the hill and you'd run, you know, sort of 10K and get your aerobic base up. Whereas rugby league was anaerobic, so it was a shuttle run, right? And so I'm going, how do these guys do this? So my first set of 6, it's a shuttle run, man. You're coming up, coming back, coming up, coming back, and it's a whole different energy system. So I'm just absolutely knackered. And I'm looking over at Betsy and Hytro and, you know, Dwayne, and they're having to do all that and then take the ball up, right? And so it was just a really big and interesting transition.
Was there any sort of imposter syndrome that was playing on your mind through this whole time?
Yeah, well, I was coming through that, so I was dealing with that. So one of my other sharks was imposter syndrome. So, you know, I was even when I was playing rugby and I was player of the day, I was waiting to get dropped because I thought, when are they going to find out I'm not good enough? So I was coming through that, I was working through that by the time I got to the Warriors, but I didn't have that out and out confidence that I had in myself going through my depression. So before it's like, just give me the ball. Want to give me the ball, mate? I'll score, you know. And you would have played with guys like that, just out and out confidence, you know. So that's what I was like pre my depression, and post I was trying to build back up to that. So by the time I got to the Warriors, I was still coming through and trying to build and get my confidence back as a player.
What did you like early on? You know, when you transition, you're trying to learn the game.
How relaxed you guys were pre-game. Yeah. So I came from the All Blacks, and it's really interesting. People talk about professionalism and think about money. It's got nothing to do with it. No. That's an equals, right? Yeah. So just so relaxed. Like by Wednesday afternoon in rugby, you're starting to mentally get ready for the game. Then Thursday, everyone's grumpy. Friday, you're trying to relax. Saturday morning, you know. So there's this real mental progression. Mate, I go to the Warriors, and 10 minutes before the game, there's music. Boys are bopping, you know, and I'm going, wow. And then they'd switch on.
Yeah, sure.
Right? You know, I'm talking about guys like Dean Bowell. I'm talking, you know, this wasn't just being mentally lazy. This was just relaxed. And then, boom, when I need to switch on, I will. So that was really, really interesting. Sure. And then the physical side and how tough the players are. Yeah. You know, dislocated shoulders, go in, whack it in, strap it up, get back out, and make a tackle. You know, I was seeing a lot of those things in the well, there were tough guys in the game of rugby, don't get me wrong, but I just noticed it way more in rugby league, how there was this just carry on, take the, you know. And then really I think the best bit of advice I got was from my old man, my dad. He said, mate, doesn't matter how bad you are on the wing, if they kick the ball deep, have 2 carries if you can. Yeah, nice. And the forwards will love you. Yeah. And that's all you need. You just need respect from the boys.
Effort on effort, and that's the thing. If you, you know, if you get the respect from the pigs in the middle, you'll go a long way. So what didn't you like then?
I liked everything, mate. There was not many things I disliked. I didn't like possibly the way that Coach Moni coached. Yeah. There were some things there that I thought weren't up to sort of ethnic standards. Sure. That makes, I don't think he understood the cross section of
That's very interesting, because Joe Vangana said the same thing. There was a time there where there was a bereavement and people wanted to get time off to go to a funeral. And he said, no, that is not the case. And it was also happened that some of the island boys were like, well, no, that's how they were brought up. So it's really interesting hearing that, because it's not just the different dynamics of the logistics involved in the game, it's just the cultural differences. Because, I mean, amongst that, you also had the English, you had the Australians, and you had the Kiwi boys amongst it, right? Bit of a mix.
Yeah, and I didn't like the disparity early in pay. Yeah. I was getting a lot of money, you know, and but, you know, Stacey was on 15 grand. Haitro Cassini was on 15 grand, you know, and a lot of us, I don't know what the other boys were earning, but I was getting 150, and I guarantee that I was probably the lowest paid of the biggest profile. So I didn't like that either when the efforts were the same, and that's why I think Super League came in and was successful.
Talk to me about the ride, because 1995, the hype, the country just blew up. I mean, you being an All Black previously, you know what it's like to be a rock star. But, you know, I think the Warriors were on par with the ABs in terms of profile, in terms of events, in terms of hype anyway.
Yeah, I think you know, I really enjoyed Ian Robson. He had his critics, but he brought razzle dazzle, man. Oh, yeah. You know, he brought a whole different type of entertainment, and I think the Warriors back then also taught rugby some stuff, because while we had the massive crowds, the Warriors was a party, man. You know, for the public, they were coming, and you know, there were the island drums at the end, and you know, there was fireworks, and you know, there's all this, you know, just all this hype around it, and I think that was, you know, that was great for that time. We needed it to go, wow, it's just not about the game. It's actually about giving people value for money. The other thing that I always remember that never was in rugby, I remember Ian Robson, he comes in on the whiteboard, right? Yeah, yeah. And so this is my first time I'm a pro, so I've never been paid. And he goes, back then it was Dominion Brews. Dominion Brews, and he writes how much? I think it was $3 million a year.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
And then he writes, season ticket holders, 9,000, 3,500,000, right?
Yep.
And then he wrote some other sponsors down, and he said, if I ever see you guys disrespecting those first two, you will be sacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, wow.
Makes a lot of sense.
How good is that? You know, everyone should know that, even today, right? Because sometimes you lose sight of who's paying your wages, you know. It's like Sky, right? Yep. I keep saying this, you know.
And you're on the big wicket here at Sky, mate.
Yeah, exactly, mate. You know, I'm the apprentice here as well. But you know, when you think about rugby and the Warriors, Sky help pay their wages.
Yep.
So you better be available for an interview, you know, and that's what Robson would say.
Mate, talk to me about Mount Smart, playing at home, no place like home, the drums going, the flames. I mean, you guys were the first to do it. I remember being on a scholarship, watching this at home, the first game, and that first year going, wow, this is, you know, unreal, the atmosphere.
Well, we didn't take them for granted, and that means you should not lose at home.
Yeah.
So you really had to play well to beat us. And I think that is, and then the rugby league fan is really well informed and got a lot of knowledge, right? And so for me, they are way more open and honest because they understand the game deeply, and if you lose by playing well, they're okay with it, and that's why they were a beautiful fan. And if you gave your guts and tried your best and they could see you trying to do stuff technically, then they're okay. Right? You should never take that for granted. Home is home, and you should never take for granted that your fan is also a coach of kids, they're passionate about the game, and they've just paid to come and see you. And they gave us a real, you know, a real extra man at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we lost, right? And I always remember Laurie Daly, right? So I'm playing for the Warriors, and we are going pretty good. You know, we're playing Canberra, and he's out there, and I thought, what are they talking about? You know, I haven't seen this guy. You know, they're saying he's the world beater, and like, what's going on? It was like the 70th minute or something. He's done nothing. The next 10 minutes, he just shredded us up. He just absolutely killed us. It was like he was sleeping, and then he woke up and just went boom, boom. You know, took it to line, put some guys through some holes. But that day, the fans would have gone home happy because we were in that game, and then a world-class athlete cut us apart. You know, and so. Playing at home for me was unbelievable because it was exciting. Yeah, rugby crowds were quite reserved back then.
I was going to talk about that, man. You know, kick and clap, but then the drums, the atmosphere, the vocal supporters. Yeah. It all came together. I mean,
but not only that, our Pacifica culture.
Yeah.
Right. So if you go and watch Moana Pacifica play, or if you go and watch the Tongans play the Kiwis, you know, if you go and watch the Warriors, you get that Pacifica, you get people laughing when there's a big hit, you're getting the chahooing, and you know, and like you're going, woohoo, how good is this? And that's atmosphere, that's why you go.
The debut match, do you remember much about that? Because I mean, you've had a few debut matches and some big games in your career.
I don't remember my debut match. I remember my, because I said to Moni, mate, if I come over, I want to play in the first team, because if I play in the reserves and I'm not good enough, I'm never going to be good enough. Whereas if I make a mistake in the first team, and this is something my dad told me earlier on when I was 18, but he didn't, fair enough, he's a coach, he said, no, you play. So I played the seconds at North Sydney Oval, and I was hopeless, really hopeless. Dropped the ball inside the 22 from marker, and I thought, I'm never going to make it. But I do remember going back to my dad's thing.
Yeah.
Go deep, nice. Take the ball up, earn the respect to your team, and you'll be okay.
You went from that learning, transitioning over in 95 to becoming the top try scorer in 1996. Was that the moment where you thought, you know what, I'm actually okay at this. I have made it. I am a league player.
I never thought I was good enough, A, as a rugby player, but B, as a league player.
Stop it, Jake.
No, I'm serious. It is part of me, and it's a positive and a negative. If you wanted me to give you an honest opinion about my league career, I was an above average league player, and I took every opportunity I could to be the best that I could be. But at the end of the day, I think I got to the game late, you know. I played out of position and tried really hard to get back into position. You know, I was top try scorer that second year because Chops was really struggling with confidence. You know, this guy's was an unbelievable league winner. You know, great angles, great outside step, run off.
Great bloke, good engine.
Yeah, you know, run, great physique, you know, but the environment, the coaching environment had knocked a lot of confidence out of him. I don't know if you've ever spoken to him about it. I haven't spoken to him about it, so this is my assessment, so don't take it as gospel. But I'm just really proud of having the courage to do it.
Yeah.
So no matter what you say to me about how I was as a league player, the experiences I've had, the things I learned about myself, the friends that I've had, you know, and someone said to me the other day who played, you know, JK, you're a good league player.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. He was a teammate of mine, and that's all that I needed to hear, because when we finish our careers, the accolades stop. You know, and you've got to look back and be really, really proud of what you gave to that environment. So I just had a great time, mate. It was good fun.
For you, some of the fondest memories either on the field or off the field, some games you played in the Warriors jumper?
I remember, you know, playing, I think we were playing Newcastle, and I had, Dean gave me the ball with the line open 70 yards and I dropped it. I also remember another game with Penrith where we'd been going through a bit of a bad run in the second year, and the boys got together, and that was the first time that we had the courage to do something against Coach Monty. Okay. And we got together and said, we need to just get on with this, and we came up with sort of a motto called the Mongrel Dog. Nice. You know, we just like, win or lose, man, we're tougher than this. You know, we've got to make people start suffering to play us. And so we went through this really, really good period of about, so I remember the Mongrel Dog came out, I think it was Penrith, and like the boys were just like scary.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, when the boys fire up.
Tony Tips, mate, like one of the greatest athletes I've ever played with. Absolutely. You know, you see that man in the change room and you want to put your shirt on, and tough and step, but a gentleman, right? That day, there was that mongrel side of him, and no one wanted to go near him. And so that was a really nice transition. And then, you know, we still didn't make the top 8 the second year, and I think that was because at the end of that, I felt the coach in particular felt that he was losing control, but he was actually giving control. So it was, you know, sort of, it was the new style of leadership. So I always remember those little moments. Yeah.
So JK, once a Warrior, always a Warrior. A lot of people wouldn't have even realised you were a Warrior, but you were, and we thank you for what you did in that jumper, and also for what you're doing for mental health in this great country of ours and people around the world scene.
Really, really, really proud to call myself a Warrior. I'm still a Warriors fan. I don't miss too many games, and I'm just really, really proud that I had 2 great years there.
Amazing. And on the show next week with me on Once a Warrior is a guy who played in the first ever grand final at number 6, Motu Tony, who will come in with plenty of stories and insight. So join us again next week here on Once a Warrior.
Kirwan! Side to Kirwan. John Kirwan! Swan, he'll call Kirwan inside. There's the second try to the Warriors. Kirwan. John Kirwan. Needing it to sit up. Well taken by Kirwan. Infield.
Calling Kirwan off his wing, straightens nicely. Support on the inside, great short ball, Namu.
Almost intercepted. John Kirwan. Kirwan on Wilson. Kirwan. Numbers. John Kirwan. There's the try.